If you were to go on hard data, it looks like Donald Trump is losing, and that's probably the strongest case. The data says, the polling says Trump is on track to lose, and 538 says Trump has a 12% chance of winning. And they go on to say that it should be zero, but there could be some changes that happen this month. Now, if you go based on news stories, the things we've witnessed with Antifa, the violence, and anecdotes and individual stories, it sounds like Trump is going to win. Now, I don't think the latter actually is a strong case for why Trump is going to win, so I'm going to sprinkle in a little bit of data as well. Gallup shows that party affiliation right now is actually Republican +1, whereas in 2016, it was Democrat +5. When party affiliation favored Democrats, they still lost. Well, there's some data to suggest that Donald Trump might actually win, but I want to be rational about this. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, and it may be bias and wishful thinking on my part to suggest Trump is going to win. I mean, like I said, the data shows he's losing. But I think Nate Silver is wrong when he says Trump has a 12% chance. I think he's dead wrong. And I think it is insane that anybody would make any kind of statement saying, we know that Joe Biden is on track to win. Now, the race is much closer than anyone realizes. But before you, I have a story. It was just wrong. Lifelong Democrat quits party over attack on Don Klein. This is out of Omaha. And it's just one more anecdote of someone walking away. You know, I was told by a friend recently that Trump's base has only gotten smaller and there are more Democrats than ever who are going to vote. That's actually not true. Among party affiliation, Democrats now have a disadvantage, and among independent voters, Democrats have lost 2 points. You see, independent voters are either lean right or lean left. In 2016, I believe it was 49 leaning Democrat, and now it's 47. Republican has really stayed the same. In fact, independent voters have gone up, showing many people are quitting the Democratic Party. They're not becoming Republicans, but they're certainly not Democrats. Now, what does that mean for the vote? 2 things. First, people don't want to be Republicans. I'm not a Republican. I don't like Republicans, but I'm certainly not going to vote for the Democrats. There are a lot of people I know who used to be card-carrying Democrats. Now they're independent and they're voting for Trump. They don't like the Republicans either. But it also lends itself to this idea that the pollsters are sampling wrong. They're sampling based on 2016 demographics and 2016 turnout to determine what's going to happen this time around. That's why I think Joe Biden is correct. The Biden campaign said the polls are wrong and they are inflated, and it's actually very close. If I were you, I would listen to what Biden is saying and ignore the pundits who screwed it all up last time. I want to show you this poll from Gallup, where we can see party affiliation is now favoring Republicans, suggesting a Trump victory. And I want to show you just a little bit of this story, an anecdote about why a lifelong Democrat is quitting. It's because of critical race theory. Now, if Trump loses, I think it'll be because he did not do a good enough job explaining what's happening to our culture. He's tried, but Trump is not the best messenger when trying to speak with regular people. That's a fact. But let's read the story, and then I will show you hard data as well as what Nate Silver thinks, and I'm going to counter his points. Actually, no, I'm not. I am going to actually agree with Nate Silver and show you why he's right, that something's going to change and Trump is going to win. But hard predictions are not good things to make. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to give you some arguments. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give, but the best thing you can do is share this video. My friends, this channel that you're watching right now, it is blacklisted on Google, and I am not making that up. If you Google search, take the full title of any one of my videos on this channel or my Timcast News, they will not appear on Google. Maybe they've changed it, but as far as I know, I have been blacklisted, and I don't know why. Maybe they don't want information like this getting out. The only reason people watch videos like on my channel, like you're watching right now, is because you share this, bypassing that censorship. Perhaps I haven't broken any rules so they can't ban me, but they can certainly try and throttle my content, and it's not working. If you really think this information is important, please consider sharing this, and don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. The first thing I want to highlight is a recent story of a Democrat walking away. You may have heard of the walk away campaign. Democrats quitting the party, leaving the Democratic Party. Many of these people now voting for Trump. Some call themselves liberals for Trump. They're not conservative. We've heard of this. Have we heard of a great movement among Trump voters who regret it? No. And even Democrats agree that Trump did not lose his base. When you ask a regular person, say everybody who voted for Trump is still going to vote for him. But now a bunch of new people are going to vote for Biden. Maybe. But the Democrats are losing voters, and that could change things. Check this out. It was just wrong. Lifelong Democrat quits party over attack on Don Klein. Omaha, Nebraska. A well-known Omaha Democrat is quitting the party over an attack on the county attorney. Campaigning has been her life's work, but she says she can't stand it anymore. Quote, I'm Irish, I'm Catholic, I'm a Democrat, Mary Barrett said until now. Barrett's been a Democrat her whole life. She said the Nebraska Democratic Party's recent resolution didn't sit right. It accuses Douglas County Attorney Don Klein of perpetuating white supremacy in his handling of the James Scurlock case. Quote, I kept getting more desperately unhappy about it, and I just didn't think it was a place the Nebraska Democratic Party needed to attack an individual, especially one who's not running for office, Barrett said. Barrett campaigned alongside the NDP for decades. She fundraised for candidates and traveled to national conventions. Her father, longtime Politico Frank Barrett, got her into politics. It's been a big part of my life and a big part of my family's life, but the attack on Don Klein was too much. This is about a person who has worked incredibly hard in the community and has been a friend to so many. And that means whites and browns and blacks. This is a fair-minded, good man. She said the allegation just isn't true and she can't sit by and say nothing. For them to take and attack a man and attack someone who has done good things for Omaha, but to attack him was just wrong. This is the straw that broke the camel's back. So she quit the party and registered as an independent. She said the decision was difficult and included time spent at her father's gravesite looking for insight on what to do. It's sad that these times are like this and we have to succumb to anger and bullying and not listening to one another. The resolution was passed late on a weekend night. She said that decision is not representative of her or her beliefs. She said the Nebraska Democratic Party has lost sight of its values. She feels that pain and she thinks Klein does too. I just think it's a sad day when people who have been in the party for 50 years feel like they don't have a place to go home to anymore. The Omaha Federation of Labor also voiced its support for Klein and said it's exceedingly clear that Klein does not and never has promoted white supremacy. They're urging the Nebraska Democratic Party to reverse its vote on the resolution. This is critical race theory, shocking a lifelong Democrat into quitting the party. Trump, do a better job with your messaging. This is a core issue for me, accusing people of being white supremacists. It's ridiculous. Now, let me show you what this turns into. I bring you party affiliation data from Gallup. In politics, as of today, do you consider yourself to be a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent? The first thing I'm going to do is take you back in time to 2016, September 14th to the 18th. 27% said Republican, 40% said independent, and 32% said Democrat. As of today, the latest data they have is from the same time period or from a similar time period, September 14th to 28th. 28% say Republican, but only 27% say Democrats. Independents are at 42%. That means independents have made a gain of 2. Democrats have gone down. Republicans have gone up. It went from Democrat +5 advantage to Republican +1 advantage. Now, I don't know if that guarantees Donald Trump a victory or it means he's going to win. But I tell you, in the face of all of the data, I see these stories. People like Brandon Strzok of the Walk Away campaign. I see Trump parades in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, deep blue, LA having a Trump parade. I see stories like that, and I can't believe that Joe Biden's going to win. I hear stories. Did you hear this? The Boilermakers Union in Pennsylvania said Joe Biden never reached out to them and they never endorsed him. They haven't endorsed anybody. But the largest chapter of Boilermakers, 154, endorsed Donald Trump. How could we have all of these stories coming out, yet the polls keep saying Joe Biden is going to win? Now, look, that woman, she was offended that they would actually pass a resolution calling this guy a perpetuator of white supremacy. That freaks out regular people. And of course, I can show you the civics data because, like I said, I got data to back up why I think Trump might actually win. 39% of people, of all people, oppose Black Lives Matter. 49% support. I wonder how many of these people are voters. It's hard to know for sure. But support for Black Lives Matter has dropped dramatically following the riots. It's now gone back a whole year before the George Floyd incident, something I've mentioned quite a bit. Now, to be fair, because I got a lot to show you, I want to make sure I get in some rational discourse. Nate Silver brings up some good points about how everything I'm saying may just be some attempt at justifying why Donald Trump is going to win. And I think it's fair. You better check that bias. You see, I want Trump to win because I think critical race theory is insane. I like these Middle Eastern peace agreements and I like withdrawing our troops. So you know what? I'll take what I can get. Now, because of that, because of my bias, and of course, because I'm always ragging on Democrats, it may just be here I am producing another segment saying Democrats going to lose. We're the best. We're going to win, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a Republican, but I'm certainly one of these independent voters who did lean left in the past and now is leaning towards Trump. I don't know if that means I'm leaning right. It just means I don't like what the Democrats have become. But here's what Nate Silver says. One tough balance to strike is that particularly theories for why Trump will win are often poorly argued and full of wishful thinking and or cherry picking. And so it's easy to want to rebut the particulars. And yet Trump still does have a non-trivial chance per our model. Why Trump could win? There's still some time left. Tipping point state polls are closer than national polls. Sometimes polls are wrong, though they need to be more than a little wrong this year. And mail voting and court disputes create some additional uncertainties. He also says, there are a lot of, in my opinion, fairly inconsequential arguments about how Biden's current standing in the polls compares to Clinton's at this point in 2016. If, as in 2016, there's a 3-point swing toward Trump in the closing days and a 3-point error in Trump's favor, it'll be close. He said it's possible. That's why Trump has a 12% chance of winning and not 0. But there's no particular reason to expect that, as opposed to, say, a polling miss that favors Biden instead. Biden's lead doesn't magically go from safe to unsafe based on some ad hoc comparison to 2016. This all exists alongside a probabilistic spectrum, and that cuts in both directions. Even if Biden's position is stronger, it is, there could be a larger polling error than in 2016. To simplify, let's not get our hopes up because we're seeing things that makes it look like we might actually win. But I got to say, Nate Silver's bias, in my opinion, is really interesting. He highlights something interesting from Trafalgar Group. This interview with Trafalgar Group, a pollster, worried me. These are not conventional polling methods, and it sounds like they provide a lot of room for subjectivity, or frankly, confirmation bias in how one constructs a voter universe. Let's just stop and think about what he's saying. Maybe I'm getting this wrong. Maybe I interpret the data wrong. Maybe my assessment is incorrect, and that's all entirely possible. But I've seen far too many people quitting the Democratic Party. Johnny Rotten, legendary punk rocker, voted for Clinton in 2016. Now he's voting for Trump. People like me, I didn't vote at all. I laughed it off. Now I'm voting for Trump. And he mentions, Nate Silver says, there's a confirmation bias in how they're constructing their polling universe. They don't know how to actually poll people. Check this out. According to this article, it says Trafalgar Group mixes up how it contacts people and especially wants respondents to feel safe. Quote, we use collection methods of live calls, auto calls, texts, emails, and a couple that we call our proprietary digital technology that we don't explain, but it's also digital. Cahaley says the point, he continues, is to really push the anonymous part. Another factor is that conservatives are less likely to participate in polls in general. We see a 5-to-1 refusal rate among conservatives. That means you've got to work very hard to get a fair representation of conservatives when you do any kind of survey. Think about what he just said. Conservatives, 5-to-1, don't answer polls. If Republicans right now are +1, that means 5-to-1, the polling error is likely worse now than it was in 2016. So Nate Silver can say everything he wants, and I'll give him his space because I could be wrong. However, we are seeing a shift in the polls. There is actual data to suggest this. And even Joe Biden's campaign has said the polls are inflated. It is close. So why would Nate Silver even claim Trump only has a 12% chance of winning? Let me tell you why. There are real reasons why Trump might actually win. First, a story from the Washington Free Beacon. Report, Biden economic policy will kill 2 million jobs. People polled say Trump is the right choice on the economy. And what do they say? It's the economy, stupid. But what about, I got to show you this one. Ebony Bowden of the New York Post says, on a campaign staff call just now, President Trump says he plans to do 5 rallies a day leading up to the election. We are going to win. I wouldn't have told you that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, he says, admitting it wasn't easy to go from hospital back to campaign trail. Joe Biden? Joe Concha tweets, the Biden campaign has called a lid until Thursday. Do you know what that means? Joe Biden is gone. No press, no rallies, no communications, none whatsoever. This is unprecedented, as far as I know. Maybe there's some historical context, but I mean, Donald Trump is doing 5 rallies a day, and Joe Biden is hiding in his basement. Will the American people support that? I can't believe it. I'm sorry. I just can't. I understand that the data says people are going to vote for Biden. It may be the people voting for Biden just don't pay attention. Maybe they saw Taylor Swift, and that's all they know. Taylor Swift says, you've got to vote for Joe Biden. And so they're going to vote for Joe Biden. Maybe got a bunch of kids doing silly little programs that are going to vote Joe Biden. I don't buy it. I think that's true. They'll go out and vote for Joe Biden. But I think that most young people won't care. I think that the polls are skewed. Joe Biden has said they're skewed. The Republicans have a party affiliation advantage. And these emails, man, check this out. Piers Morgan, despite the best biased efforts of Facebook, Twitter, and the overwhelmingly Trump-hating media to kill the story, Biden now has serious questions to answer about Hunter's dodgy deals, and he can't duck them forever. The media is doing everything in its power to silence this story because it really is hurting Joe Biden. There was one poll that came out that showed before the story, he was up 2 points, and after the story, he dropped 2 points, though he's still leading in the polls. He's still in front of Trump. Take a look at this story from Fox News. Trump to press Biden on Hunter Biden email stories if debate moderator doesn't, advisor says. Thursday is the final face-off between Trump and Biden before the November 3rd presidential election. And Trump, with or without prompt, is going to bring up the emails. Joe Biden, in one email from a Chinese equity, over a Chinese equity deal, they said the big guy would get 10% held by H. Well, Fox News has basically confirmed it. The big guy was Joe Biden. H was Hunter Biden. Joe Biden was using his son as an intermediary to make money off of his office. Check this out. The Daily Beast. Journalists don't bite on Rudy's bunch of BS. We're about to see things we've never seen before. The New York Post and Fox will keep pushing wild and vile lies. The question is whether they can fool people. Michael Tomasky for the Daily Beast. Opinion piece. They're trying to claim that the story on the emails is bunk. But they've never actually argued the emails. They just claim Rudy Giuliani is bad. Check this one out. From CNN. The anatomy of the New York Post's dubious Hunter Biden story. In it, they say, the Post story claims Hunter Biden helped arrange a meeting, blah, blah, blah. The series of stories contained hacked materials and personal email addresses. That's a lie. There's no hacked information. We know the story. There was a repair shop, got the laptop. Hunter Biden never picked it up. He gave it to the FBI, who didn't do anything, so he gave it to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. There's no hacked materials. CNN, in trying to discredit the story, got their facts wrong. I love this one. Check this out. From Mediaite. They say, exclusive. Fox News passed on Hunter Biden laptop story over credibility concerns. Really? Fox News, they passed on the story? Well, I'm sure they have egg on their face now. From Fox News, source on alleged Hunter Biden email chain verifies message about Chinese investment firm. Sources have told Fox News the big guy is a reference to the former vice president. Really? Maybe the story is true about Fox News passing. That would just be embarrassing for Fox News, who later went on to confirm the story is true. So you know what? That's the best they can do. I hear every day Democrats quitting the party. I see boomers that I know who have been Democrats their whole lives quitting the party. I showed you that story, opening up this woman quitting the party. What makes anyone believe these polls are going to be accurate? They may be. They really may be. Trump may be on track to lose, because I'll stress this point. They say the polls were wrong in 2016, and that's not correct. Okay, it's technically correct, the best kind of correct. They were off by a point or so. That's about it. And that's normal. I mean, there's a margin of error. They undercounted Trump's non-college educated white vote and other first-time voters. And so the pundits made the mistake. But there were major stories that were coming out that month. We were getting inundated with October surprises, which I'm sure we will now. And this Hunter Biden email story is certainly going to play a role in this. So it's interesting that Nate Silver says Trump has a 12% chance of winning because, what is it? It's the 19th. We're going to get into the thick of things moving forward. But I think you're going to see a lot of this critical race theory stuff. You're going to see a lot of this talk about Antifa riots, and it's going to make people not want to be Democrats anymore. Going back to the Gallup poll, we can see Democrats are now at a disadvantage in terms of party affiliation. But we can go all the way down to independent voter affiliation. This I find interesting. Democrat leaners, as of September of 2020, 47 versus Republicans, 44. If we go back to 2016 for the same time period, it was 49 Democrat, 44 Republican. Republicans haven't moved. Democrats have gone down and independent voters have gone up. If independent voters today have increased, but people who are independent are not likely to lean Democrat, that says Democrats are losing support. It could mean a lot of things. It could mean that there are moderate Democrats who don't like the party and they don't like how far left it's gone. And that means there could be progressive Democrats or Democrats who have become more progressive and don't like how moderate it is. This is what I've said about Joe Biden. Is Joe Biden far left? Yes, relative to American politics. Is he far left relative to the far left? No, of course not. He's moderate to them. I think it's funny that people on the left, the far left, they say Bernie Sanders is a centrist. They're completely incorrect. That's not true. They're conflating definitions. When we're talking about the left wing and the right wing of this country, Bernie Sanders is about as far left as you can get in terms of active politics. When we're talking about revolutionary, Bernie Sanders is still as far left as you can get. In terms of economic policy, Bernie Sanders is moderately far left. So what we're seeing right now, Joe Biden trying to bridge the gap between a fractured Democratic Party, far left and moderate, and he can't do it. So the far left says Joe Biden is a centrist and he won't get progressive. And the moderates say Joe Biden's going too far left and quit the party. And I think that's what we're going to end up seeing. People quitting the party because it doesn't represent them anymore, because the party has fractured in two. Now let's talk about cash. This is my final point. We'll talk about cash. Biden and Democrats outspending Trump and GOP by $85 million on ads in final weeks. October 12th. They're saying Trump is giving up. He's not spending money anymore. Joe Biden is outraising him. Wall Street has gotten behind Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to win based on cash. That's ridiculous. Did you know that back in 2016, Donald Trump spent a little bit over half of what Hillary Clinton raised? The spend was, well, let me show you this. Cash raised was $1.2 billion for Trump, 646. The spend was 569. Hillary Clinton's spend was 969 million to Trump's 531 million. So Trump spent a little bit more than half what Hillary did, and he won. Hillary Clinton raised way more money. So what if Joe Biden's raising more money? Throughout most of this race, Trump was raising more than Biden. Only in the last, final stretch has Joe Biden been able to raise more than Trump. And it's from Wall Street for the most part. Trump is still winning right now among small donors. Voter registration is in Trump's favor. Party affiliation is in Trump's favor. Anecdotal evidence is in Trump's favor for what it's worth. And the numbers spent are meaningless. And there's one more story that I covered the other day. Time magazine. A journalist went around the country interviewing people and found, for the most part, they don't care about the headlines. They don't care what the journalist class say. And they believe fake news, they claimed. I think regular people are sick and tired of what's happening. The people who have poked their head into the culture war are shocked and are probably going to vote for Trump. And I'll tell you this right now. Union workers. I mentioned this early on. Joe Biden in his town hall said, the Boilermakers Union overwhelmingly endorsed me. According to the Free Beacon, Boilermaker union members started calling up their union leaders saying, what are you talking about? You endorsed Biden? Are you nuts? And they said, we didn't. We never even talked to the guy. The local 154 Boilermakers in PA, I believe it's the Pittsburgh area, endorsed Donald Trump. So I'll tell you this. The union itself didn't. But here's what I'm thinking. Imagine you're in a union. You don't like Trump. You don't care about Biden. He's going to ban fracking, whatever. You just want to work and feed your family. Then Biden comes out and lies about you and says you endorsed him. All of a sudden now you're getting these people yelling at you. You come home from work and you've got your neighbor. You guys endorsed Trump. Are you nuts? What are you talking about? That was 1-5. That wasn't me. Why is Joe Biden? That's the other way around. Imagine Joe Biden comes out and lies. And you've got people coming out and saying, why would you endorse someone who wants to ban fracking? The other stuff, the Trump derangement stuff, would probably trigger him anyway. But I confused the point. The point is, imagine someone lies about you, claiming you support them. And then other people are like, exactly what this union leader was saying. We never endorsed this guy. He's going to ban fracking. I think by lying about the union workers, these people are now more likely to vote for Trump, saying, screw this guy. He lied about us. Now, I can't predict the future, and Nate Silver may be right. Each and every one of these videos I've put out may just fit your confirmation bias, and it may just be wishful thinking. That's why I try to make sure I include the criticism, because we could be in a bubble. We don't want to fall for what the left fell for, thinking we're going to win. The left was like, Hillary's going to win. Woo. I'll be completely honest with you guys. If Biden wins, I'll laugh. I'm barely past indifferent for the most part. I'm willing to vote for Trump because critical race theory is a disaster. It's a nightmare. But I don't care all that much because I'm not a big fan of Trump. I don't like Biden. There's a lot of reasons I don't like Trump, but I'll take what I can get from Trump. Never going to put on MAGA hat. I don't like the Republicans. I don't like the Democrats. I feel like an independent who's been forced to vote for Donald Trump. I think Trump's okay. I think in some areas he's pretty good. And I think overall he's just okay. There's a lot of bad things he does. That's just how I feel. You don't got to agree with me. But I think a lot of people agree with me on that Trump's got his problems, but Biden's way worse. I think I laid out my case. I think the data speaks for itself, but we won't know for sure. So I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel, and I will see you all then.